Hi, good evening, everyone. Good evening. I am so glad to see everyone tonight. 欢迎大家. Thank you for joining us this Sunday night. It was a beautiful day today. I hope everyone got a chance to go outside. It's a preview of spring, and I'm wearing spring color. I'm wishing spring to come in, right? I'm Julie Yang. If we have not met, I'm glad to meet you online. And I see a lot of familiar names here. I'm glad we can get together this way tonight to talk about a very important and at times very puzzling and troublesome question for all of us as parents, how to communicate with our children. And for me, I'm a mother. I have 2 children that are already in college. Not only I feel that I have generation gap when communicating with my children, I also have cultural gap and language gap. There are words they use I don't understand. There are words I use they find it strange. Not just because I speak a different language, but more so, I notice there's individual difference among my children. Even both of my children that raised in the same household by the same parents have different communication style, and we encounter different challenges with each of them. So even though they are adult now, tonight I'm still wanting to learn more of how to effectively communicate with them. Now, professionally, I was a teacher by training, and now I serve on the board of Montgomery County Board of Education. And I think that the communication skills are transferable skills. It will help me be a more effective teacher and be a more effective public servant. So that's how this, and I was so fortunate to have met PEP, the Parent Encouragement Program, and they are the expert in this field. And I will let them in a minute to introduce the long commitment of this nonprofit in improving parent and children communication. Tonight, we are also very fortunate to have 2 organizations that are our co-sponsor. One is CCACC 美金华人中心，大家都很熟悉的。And another one is CAPA MC 蒙郡华人家长会。这2个组织 locally are so dedicated to our community. So I'm going to invite Rita Lewitt, the new executive director of CCACC, to tell us a few programs that they have with spring break and summer coming up. And I think you will all be very interested to learn about the offering they have at CCACC. Rita, please go ahead.
Yeah. Good evening. Thank you for inviting me to introduce CCACC. Let me start this. The slides you are showing is CCACC Academy. This is one of our 7 divisions. Since the parents are more interested in our academy, the academy, yes, you are right, Judy. Summer camps coming up, and after school, and also daycare. We start at 2 years old. 2 to 5 years old, they attend the preschool, the daycare, and after school is and the summer camp is including students 1st to 5th graders. That's including all kinds of activities, performing arts, fine arts, sports program, reading, writing, and math. This is our academy. It's sort of like a bilingual, okay? We have a wonderful, similar to Montessori, but not exactly Montessori. They use the Montessori approach to reach out the kids and the family. So it's wonderful. It's a beautiful facility. I welcome all the parents to come visit us. It's located in Rockville, Key West, and the Shady Grove right on the corner. Here is the CCACC Sports. By the way, CCACC Sports work together with Academy. So the student from Academy, they can come over, learn the tennis and the swimming. They do have a swimming pool. It's a 25 meter long and 8 lane. It's quite standard. And we have a shallow and a deep water area. And also the tennis, we have 4 tennis courts and 2 pickleball courts. It's for adults. So we have a variety level for the swimming students and also tennis students. It's beautiful picture. Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, I saw that. Let's see. If you let's see, let me give you some of the okay. I did let me give you the phone number. How about the Academy in case the parents are interested in that? Academy is 301-978-3918. That's Academy if you are interested. Welcome everyone to check it out. And also swimming pool. Let me see whether I have a swimming pool. Do you have a swimming pool phone number there? I don't have that.
There is a CCACC website. Will have all the information. So on your screen is ccacc-dc.org. You will find all the information about the Academy and the Sports Center right on the website.
Let me go back a little bit about our CCACC. We have been in Montgomery County for 40 years, if you don't know that. So right now we have 2,000 members, and our core value, most division and also our staff, we sort of focus, we practice, we organize, and we run our business based on our core value that are caring with love and compassion, and serving the community with sincerity and integrity, and striving on joy and growth. So,
thank you, Rita.
Welcome to CCACC facility. Thank you, Jody.
Thank you so much, Rita. We know all the work that CCACC offer are free for our community. A lot of evergreen club, volunteer opportunity for the students, English as a second language classes, health clinics. So thank you for all you do for the Asian American community. Next, I would like to invite Dr. Lee, Su-Hong Lee, to tell us a little bit about Kappa MC, 蒙郡华人家长会. Go ahead, Su-Hong.
Hi, Julie. Thank you for inviting us. So, hello, everyone. My name is Su-Hong Lee, and I'm the former board chair of the Chinese American Parent Association of Montgomery County, Kappa MC for short. We are honored to co-sponsor this event with PEP and CCACC tonight. Actually, today, I'm here not only to represent Kappa MC, but also to represent myself as a parent. Being a parent is never an easy job. Actually, I think it's one of the most challenging jobs in the world, and it's lifelong, and you can't quit. So I want to say a few words for our organization. Kappa MC is a nonprofit organization that serves and advocates for Asian communities, Asian American communities, especially Chinese American students and families. We focus on education issues, and we were founded in 2016, about 7 years ago. We believe that together when our community, our parents, our students work together with MCPS, BOE, local schools, PTAs, and other parent communities, we can build a better future for our children and all the children. So now, Judy is showing the slides to introduce our youth clubs. So I'm going to speak Mandarin for the Chinese parents to introduce these programs. 首先欢迎大家来到今晚的说明会。我个人呢对这个话题也很感兴趣。我曾经以前有听过 PEP 的讲座，我觉得呢他们讲的非常专业，讲的方法呢也都挺有效的。我希望大家跟我一样啊，听了之后能有所收获。那么这张slides 上看到的呢是我们 CAPA 作为服务社区这一方面，我们有哪几个club？ 我们总共呢目前有8个 student club。这8个 club 呢分别是大家可能已经听说过了啊，比如这里面有一个叫做CAPSA， 右边第3个，那 CAPSA 呢就是他们呢是一个，其实他们自己已经独立运行了20多年了，后来呢加入了我们 CAPA， 是做课外辅导，为弱势的学生，还有学业需要辅导的新移民，还有还有ESOL家庭等等，提供这样的学生提供课外辅导。欢迎大家了解他们，他们也在他们招新的时候可以加入，我们会招tutor， 然后当然也需要你如果希望被辅导，那也可以 TT 没有问题。还有我们的GRC Junior Reporter Club 这也是 CAPA 的最早成立的一个 club 小记者俱乐部，他们用中英文的写作来向社区介绍学校还有外面的世界，当然呢也把别的社区和学校等等信息介绍给我们社区。第3个俱乐部应该是我们的Service Club Youth Service Club 是我们的服务俱乐部，他们呢也是成立的比较早，服务我们 CAPA 的所有的活动，然后目前还有一些其他的项目，感兴趣大家可以上 kapamc.org 去看。我们还有一个俱乐部是 iTeach Club。iTeach Club 呢，主要是为我们的老人中心的老人们教英文。这些老人呢，解决他们孤独不会交流的问题，也是做了很多年，很有成效。那每年呢，他们也会招收新的小老师，请大家关注。还有一个 club 就是我们左下角的爱心园艺俱乐部The Growing and Living 所以这个 club 呢，可能是我们 CAPA 最美味的俱乐部。我常说，因为他们种有机蔬菜，然后送给需要的社区他们呢目前正在做的一个项目是拿到蒙郡环境部门和Chesapeake Bay 的一个 trust 的一个 funding， 然后帮助保护水源。那么其中最近可能大家可能会在某些学校看到他们回收塑料袋，也请大家支持。还有我们的 IT Club，IT Club 呢就是为学生们，他们可以为机构免费的提供网站的设计服务，也是一个非常棒的 club。还有2个我们相对来说也是比较新的一个 club， 一个就是Run and Hit， 这个 tennis club 他们是一个给孩子们爱好网球的孩子们提供一起训练的时间，帮助他们提高球艺的一个俱乐部。最后一个俱乐部呢是叫一个 Seed 种子俱乐部，这个真的是一个很美好的一个种子，它是帮助相对弱势的需要特殊教育的 special education 的这些孩子得到平等的发展，这样的一个俱乐部。好，有关 KAPA-MC 的消息呢，请大家登录 kapamc.org 去更多的了解并加入我们，谢谢。
谢谢苏红 ，Thank you, Dr. Lee 今天跟大家介绍这两个组织，也是我的希望，在我们社区里能给孩子们找到他们需要的活动，也让孩子们能够参与到社会，让他们的世界变得超越他们的家庭和学校。好 ，Without further ado, I would like to now pass the mic to the Executive Director.Kathy Hatch of PEP, so that we'll get the program started. Kathy, go ahead.
Thank you, Julie, and thanks to all of you for joining us. I know our time is precious, and so thank you for your interest in coming and learning more about parenting and about PEP. I'll just say a few words about the Parent Encouragement Program, or PEP. We are a nonprofit organization. We are based here in Montgomery County.And we have been working for 40 years with parents and caregivers to help support parents and give parents guidance so that you all are better equipped to give support and guidance to your children. Our sole focus is working with parents and caregivers to help children so that they can grow up to be encouraged and resilient and capable and confident adults.Because, of course, our job as parents is to work ourselves out of a job. And, of course, we're trying to raise not children, but we're raising future adults. I will tell you, I've been with PEP for almost 10 years as its executive director, but I first came to PEP as a parent myself. I have two boys. They're now 24 and 22. And when I first came to PEP, they were only 10 and 12 years old. And I came to PEP, I'll be honest with you,trying to get my younger son to do his homework. And I was hopeful that PEP would show me how to get my younger son to do his homework. And what I learned by going to PEP's classes is really the only person we can change is ourselves. And so I learned that I really had to change in order to help my son to be able to communicate with my son and help motivate my son.So it has been a journey for me as a parent with PEP, and I've learned a lot, and I really credit PEP with my relationship with my son today because we have a great relationship, and I'm not sure it would have been the case if I hadn't found PEP. So I'm really just very glad you're all with us here tonight, and I think we're going to learn a lot from our two presenters. And let me, with that, introduce our two presenters, Pascal Brady and Eileen Chang. First, I'll introduce Eileen. Eileen has been a PEP parent educator and facilitator for PEP's Family Resiliency Program since 2022. In addition to her work with PEP, Eileen has experience assistant teaching at Manor Montessori School in Bethesda, where she developed and implemented lesson plans, worked in the classroom, and coordinated special events. Prior to that, Eileen was the head pharmacist for the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation / Walgreens. While working for the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, Eileen was the pharmaceutical lead, setting up all pharmacy operations, training professional team members, and working with the healthcare team and third-party payers. Eileen lives with her husband and their 3 teenage daughters. Pascal Brady has been a PEP parent educator since 2003, leading PEP classes both for parents, and she also helps train new PEP parent educators. Pascal is also a member of our PEP Board of Directors. She's the current PEP Board President. Pascal is also founder and principal of Global Life Coaching, where she's worked with hundreds of individuals and teams to help people master their challenges and effectively resolve problems. She's also a life and leadership coach with Sequence Counseling and Consulting Service, an international coach consultant for Net Expat, and a board member of Sodexo Stop Hunger Foundation. Pascal has 2 young adult daughters and lives in Gaithersburg, Maryland. And with that, I will turn it over to Pascal.
Thank you very much, Kathy, and thank you to all of you for having us here, especially Julie for organizing this event. We are so honored. So I just want to add to what Kathy just said, which is that I actually came to PEP when my oldest, who's 24, was 2 years old. Because, and by the way, I also want to tell you that I'm half French, half German, half American. So it's complicated math, but originally born and raised in France and French father and German mother. and came to the United States, was here by myself without any parents, any family, and then had these children. And I was a pretty old mom, and I had wanted children for a long time. So of course I was going to be a great mom. And then I had this first child, and it was horrible. And it wasn't her, it was me. I didn't know what to do. And so my French friends told me about PEP, thank goodness. And thank goodness, because I am actually a widow. I lost my husband 13 years ago. So my daughters were 10 and 12 when they lost their father. And I don't know that I would be here speaking with you if it wasn't for PEP and its principles that really helped me not only become a more efficient parent, but really helped me through this very difficult time. So I'm delighted to be here with you tonight. We're going to be doing a short presentation, and then we will take your questions and answers. Some of you have already sent them in advance, so we have those ready to go. But if you have any questions as we go through the presentation, please write them down in the chat. We have chat monitors who are going to, make sure that they pass the questions on to you and maybe consolidate them if there's multiple of a similar topic. So we don't want to spend too much time on the presentation, but we do want to give you some tools. And we also want to make sure that we, get you some of your questions answered tonight. So I'm going to start the PowerPoint here. And can you see it? Everything going well? Okay, great. And so, so the topic of the talk is, why don't my kids listen to me? Why don't they? I repeat things many, many times. I explain it to them very articulately. Why? It makes a lot of sense what I'm asking. It's very reasonable. I'm kind of like the parent. They should be listening, right? So why are they not listening to me? Why do I have to repeat 6 times everything I say, or more sometimes, right? Before they pay attention to me. And I see from the questions that you guys sent in that some of you have these issues at home, right? So, so let me stop sharing, because I'm going to show you a few videos that will show you a couple of different parenting styles. And so I'm going to show you a first one, and I'm going to ask for you to really notice what's going on in the role play and how successful the parent is. And then I'm going to ask you to write in the chat at the end of the 2 role plays, who is identifying more with role play number 1 and who's identifying more with role play number 2, right? So I'll play 2 of them. And then your guys' job is to say, oh, I'm more like number 1 or like number 2, and put that in the chat. Now, you will not really identify with the people in the role play, because they're 2 of our co-leaders who are white women in their 50s or something in the role play. So you won't actually identify with them, but look at how they're parenting and how the child is reacting in the role play. All right, so I'm making sure I have the sound on. Okay, and I will, I need to make you guys disappear so I can blow this up to be full screen. All right, and then Julie, if you could give me a thumbs up if you hear the sound, that would be fantastic. I'm gonna make sure my sound's up. All right.
This is Sue, and she's pretending to be your kid. Here's Dana. She's playing a busy mom who just wants to get out the door on time.
Sweetie, we're leaving for school in 3 minutes. Get your shoes and socks on and get all your stuff. Honey, come on. Put your shoes on. Get ready to go.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, for goodness sake, you're still there? We've got to go.
Well, I've almost got this side done. Just give me 1 more minute.
Okay, 1 minute. You're still sitting there? I will put your shoes on. I cannot tell you enough. We have to go. All right, if you come with me right now, I will let you choose the music in the car.
A bagel, too.
Okay, fine. All right, let's go. Come on.
This is Sue, and she's pretending to be.
All right, so this was role play number 1. So now I'm going to stop sharing and go to role play number 2. So remember, your job is to identify which role play you identify with most.
Pascal, were you ever in my house before?
There's usually somebody who says this. All right, let me go to the number 2 right here and blow it up and play this one. Okay, number 2.
Here we are with the same situation. Sue is busy playing on the Rubik's Cube instead of finishing her morning routine. Let's watch how Dana plays a parent, taking a different approach to the problem.
Stop playing with that toy now. Get your shoes and your socks on. Meet me in the car in 30 seconds. What did I say? Put that toy down, get your shoes and socks on. Meet me in the car now.
Doing it.
If you don't put your shoes and socks on now, you are not going to be able to go to your friend's house this afternoon.
Fine.
No, you know what? No, you are not playing with any of your friends all week long. And if you don't show up in that car in 30 seconds, you're not going to see your friends for the rest of the school year.
All right. So this was number 2. So your job now is to write down in the chat which one you identified with. Oh, no. Hold on. It's starting again.
No, you're fine.
My apologies about that. Okay. All right. So here's the thing, right? How efficient was the mom in the first role play, and how efficient was the mom in the second role play, right? In both cases, we get the sense that the child was actually listening to mom and doing what mom needed her to do, right? The needs of the situation, as we call it at PEP, were that they needed to get out the door, and the child was, whether she was being cajoled or whether she was being yelled at and threatened, in neither case was she really moving and doing what she was needing to do. So what if I told you that we accidentally actually train our children not to listen to us? Is that a scary thought? We don't actually do it on purpose, obviously, right? This is not our intention. It would be so much nicer if they would just listen the first time and do what we need them to do, but they don't, right? And so, in fact, by repeating and repeating and repeating and asking and cajoling and begging, or even actually yelling, we train them not to have to listen to them. So, in fact, what we're doing while we're repeating 6 times is we don't really mean it the first time, because if we did, they would probably do what we're asking them to do, right? So the bottom line is we're just talking too much and we're making them deaf. Not actually making them deaf, but they become deaf to us because we're repeating so much. So here's the thing. Children are extraordinary observers of us. They know us from the time they are born so well. There's this child therapist at East Tennessee University, Jim Bitter. He used to say, children have master's degree in their parents. They know them by heart, and they know Jim would say that each parent has a big red button that is the things that set this particular parent off. And each child knows the big red buttons of each one of their parents perfectly well. By how they have a master's in it, right? And actually their job and the way that they learn about life is by coming over and pushing the big right button, right? They're pushing the limits, and that's actually how they're learning. They're learning by provoking things and seeing how we react, right? So this one child knows that she needs to comply with what her mother is asking after her mother has the tone of her mother's voice has reached a certain tessiture, a certain pitch. And that's usually by about number 5. Number 5 repeats. The kid knows, oh, I better get going now. We're at that point, right? There's this other child. He knows that he needs to mind his father when his father gets up from the chair and starts walking towards him to the other side of the room. That's when the child says, whoops, I better get going, right? But wouldn't it be nicer if we actually got our children to do what we asked them the first time around, and without having to get through those pretty painful ways of asking, right? We don't want to wait that they care until we get angry. That is just not a good way of doing things. So just want to tell you real briefly about the fact that tonight we're going to make sure that you leave with 3 practical tools that you can actually use in your house to improve the communication and to make sure your kids listen to you better than maybe they are now, right? But if you come to PEP, when you come to PEP, which I was so tickled to hear that we are 40 years old this year, and so is CCACC. That is so fun. We have the same birthday. We're the same age. But you need lots of tools to build a house, right? So in this 50-minute presentation tonight, you're going to get 3 practical tools, but that's just the beginning of the toolbox, right? So at PEP, we offer parenting education based in theory of Alfred Adler, and it's also called positive discipline. And we'll show you at the end what kind of programs we have, but we have many, many, many programs. And just coming to a 30-minute talk or 50-minute talk might not solve all your problems. That's the promise we cannot make to you tonight, that tonight you leave and you have all your problems solved with your kids, right? But we have many, many, many other things that you can come to. And again, we'll show you what they are at the end. So we're going to start with the first tool, and I'm going to turn it over to Eileen so that she can talk to you about how to change your delivery.
Yes. Hi, thank you. Hi, everyone. I just wanted to say that, Pascal.
Yes.
Actually, I'm not sure. I just lost my other screen when you make it full screen on my screen. So my notes are computer notes.
I can.
If you press your own escape button, your screen will be the slide will be minimized, and you can.
The escape button. Oh,
yes,
okay.
Yes. Did that help you?
Yes, it did. Thank you very much. And I also wanted to say too, Pascal, did you want to show the third style of parenting here too before I speak?
No, I'm going to show it at the end where we're done.
Okay, Sounds good.
Thank you.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Yeah, my name is Eileen Chang, and actually, I have two teenage boys and a teenage daughter. Just wanted to throw it out there. Well, good evening. My name is Eileen Chang, and I just wanted to say, why don't our kids listen to us? Pascal, thank you for explaining how we are unknowingly training our kids to be parent deaf. Yikes. If nagging, pressuring, bribing, scolding, cajoling, demanding, pleasing, threatening isn't working, how do we talk to our kids so they will actually listen? Well, it's time to get creative and curious. It's time to try some new approaches. And if you're already doing these tools that we're talking about, you are ahead of the curve. Keep it up. So tool number 1, we need to change our delivery. When you talk to your spouse at home or your colleagues at work, how do you get their attention? Do you barge in on them, interrupt what they're doing, and start talking without making sure first that they have the time and space to listen to you? I bet you don't. So why should we do this with our children? We need to extend the same respect to our children as we extend to everyone else. Respect is like air. Everyone needs it. So the next time you want to say something to our children, make sure we get their attention first. The first step to get our child's attention is to get on their level. We are intimidating giants, especially to the younger kids. So a respectful move is to go over to them, get down on their level, and wait until their attention is given to us. Once we get their attention, we deliver the message. With younger kids, we can use what's called an interruption signal. It's a cue that gives a physical connection that trains our kids that we have something important to say. With teens, we can just walk over, stand, or sit beside them. They may take a little longer to give us their attention, but just wait and be patient. When we have their attention, say what we mean and mean what we say. You may be thinking, I have to do all that just to get their attention? What a waste of time. I don't have this time. Well, believe it or not, it will actually save you time in the long run because they got your message, especially if it is really important. What is the alternative? Yelling quick commands from across the room? Giving an order at the door frame? It just doesn't work. Your kids are secretly thinking, yeah, mom, whatever. And they almost always go back to their activity. So remember, connect before we correct. Most children are uncomplicated and have less experience with words than we have. Their brains are also less developed than ours. Therefore, it is important to not only get physically at their level, but also intellectually. State facts simply. There are shoes all over the entrance floor, or I see some dinner dishes on the kitchen table and not in the dishwasher, and make the request clearly. Would you please go find which shoes are yours and put them in the shoe bin? Or could you please put your dishes in the dishwasher? Avoid repeating yourself and say it once, then act. So going back to my first point about respect, if we think about our interactions with adults, what's our success rate of getting our requests met when we are stressed and act disrespectfully? I'm sure you'd agree that it's pretty low. So again, we need to treat our children with the same respect we treat other adults. And being calm is a prerequisite for being respectful. Typically, if we let stress get to us, it will impede our ability to be respectful. Let's do the math. Model respect plus speak with respect equals respect from your child.
Wow. Eileen, that was so powerful. When I think about it, if I go to talk to a colleague, I never say, hey, let's do this. I will always say, hello, how are you today? Is now a good time to talk? Or, I will make appointments, right? Say, hey, how about what's your availability today? What's the time we can talk? Or if we need to leave to go to a meeting, say, oh, time's almost up. Are you ready? Can we go now? It's different, right? Because I was showing respect. I give the other person space for their response. So that's very eye-opening.
Yes, thank you. So tool number 2, offer limited choices. Children want the same things we want. They want to feel that they matter and that they have choice in the things that concern them. If we think for a second how little choices our kids have over their lives, especially the younger ones, maybe you'll understand why our children fight us so much on so many things. Because very often, if not most of the time, they feel that they have either no control or no power in the things that concern them. When to wake up, what to wear, what to eat, where to go, whether to go to daycare or school or not, whether to do after-school activities, and which ones, like play piano or violin lessons, Kumon, or when to leave the playground, whether to go to grandma's this weekend, where the family goes on vacation, whether to have a second or third sibling. You get the picture. Can you feel the lack of control they experience? So in order to get our children to do what we need them to do, and to alleviate getting into power struggles with them, the solution is to give them more control. And the best way to do this is to give them choices, but within limits. In other words, choices that the parents can live with. As a mom of 3 teenagers, I've had a lot of practice using some of these examples. For instance, when your room is clean, then you can watch TV. When it is quiet, I will read you this bedtime story. When you are willing to speak to me in a friendly way, then we can finish this conversation later. I love you too much to argue. As soon as you are finished with your homework, you can go to John's house to play. As soon as you are done with the jobs you agreed to do, then we can go to Michael's to pick up the supplies you need for your art project. When, then, and as soon as, then are very logical statements of sequential happenings. For your wish or your request to happen, first you have to do this. They are used to motivate a child, not to be used as a threat.
What a good point, not a threat. The second video, we can see the escalation, not only by the pitch of the mother, but by the severity of the consequences. And there was no way out, right? You are back to a corner, and either you discredit yourself or it just, hurt the feelings of all that involved, right? So Eileen, I really take out of this, being calm is really the prerequisite for good communication. And then give choices, but limited choices. And even in your tool number 1, you were mentioning about how we need to be more specific, right? We can sometimes make a general statement and we think our kids got their dishes in the sink, but we never say specific what our expectation is, right? Mm-hmm. And that is not very, or just say, there's so many shoes here, but instead of saying, can you put away your shoes that are here, right? Be more specific, not vague, and assume our children knows what we mean, right? And then be disappointed, and then escalate is because we feel hurt that they didn't listen to us.
Yeah.
Right? So, yeah.
Julie, do you have any time? Because we could use more leaders. So it seems like you got it. Can you come?
I was an early childhood teacher, so I did have to learn a lot of these things.
You got this. Got this.
All right. Go ahead, Eileen.
All right. So for the third statement is you can either brush your teeth yourself with a young child, or I can brush your teeth. You decide. You can either walk to the bath or hop to the bath. Which would you prefer? You can either take the trash out before dinner or after dinner. You decide. So the either or wording is very helpful when something needs to happen and the child is resisting. So essentially, these choices, with these choices, we are putting the child in charge of deciding how they want things to be. Yeah, all these ways of giving choices to our children are extremely powerful. It gives our children what they're looking for, which is a greater sense of control or power over what concerns them. Yeah. So.
Thank you, Eileen. That was
you're
awesome.
Welcome. Yeah, and so now Pascal will share the very important tool number 3.
Yes, and whenever I'm going to answer your questions later, or Eileen and I will answer your questions, we will constantly refer to tool number 3. So pay attention. So tool number 3, it's in the same vein of everything Eileen has just said, which is kids want to feel that they matter, that they're significant. That gives them a sense of belonging, right? And what better way to help them feel that they matter, besides the ones that we already talked about, than by involving them in problem solving, right? You guys probably wouldn't be here tonight if you had no issues with your children. And the problem is we all have children thinking, oh, this is going to be so wonderful. And nobody gives us a book before we have them that it's going to be not easy. And that day in and day out, these children just get in the way of life the way it used to be, right? And so what better way to empower the children than to involve them in solving the problems that they contribute to create in our families? That is incredibly powerful. And not only that, but I'm going to go one step further. It's not only powerful, it is so helpful, because now instead of having just one or maybe two parents, if you're lucky, in the house, now you have maybe one or two or three or four children. In other words, additional brains and hands and feet and arms that can do things that can actually help out in the family, right? It's like magic, right? So you want to ask your children regularly to have family meetings with you, right? Family meetings. And during those family meetings, you can solve the family problems that your family has. And so here are the steps for family meetings and for solving problems with your children. First, you want to call a meeting, and you want to make sure, like Julie demonstrated, that you first ask, when is everybody available? And you set a day and time for the meeting. And then you sit down and you say, there is a problem, or we, the family, have a problem, not I have a problem or you are the problem. There is a problem. So we learn to frame the problem at PEP, which is we keep it small and we keep it impersonal. The way that we remember it is no blame, no shame, no name. You frame it with no blame, no shame, no name. So some examples are: shoes in the hallway make it dangerous to get into the house. The shoes that Eileen was talking about, they did not get put in the bin. And so now the parent in that meeting says, shoes left in the hallway are dangerous. They're hazards. I walk in with my groceries. I don't see the shoes. I trip and there's groceries everywhere, right? Or dinner squabbles. We're not saying who's squabbling. We're just stating the fact, right? Or curfew agreements not respected. What? Or hurtful family comments or hurtful family language. Do you see? I'm not pointing fingers to anybody. I'm not saying you. I'm just like stating the fact.
Yeah. So no one is on the defensive, even when you start the conversation, right? You didn't put away your shoes. You make a hurtful comment. You came home so late last night, right? Then there's no room for conversation. The other side,
that's exactly right.
You are not on the same side anymore. You're on the opposite sides now.
Exactly. So you bring up, when you do it the way you just did, Julie, you just bring up those defensive walls that are basically like earmuffs, and nobody is listening anymore. And certainly nobody is willing to cooperate anymore with you, right? So first is framing, asking for a meeting, stating the problem in a way that is framed, no blame, no name, no shame. And then you say, would everybody be willing to help with this problem, right? And so now you start brainstorming. And that is the fun part, because you would be amazed, if you haven't done it yet, at how creative everybody is in the family. Even tiny little children, they have the most amazing ideas, right? And so the rule of brainstorming, for those of you who have maybe a master's in business and have done this in school, is all ideas are good. You have somebody that's the secretary of the meeting or the scribe of the meeting, and that can be the 5-year-old, writes all the ideas down, every single idea that everybody says, right? And when we're done and there's no more ideas, then we go back to the top of the list and we say, okay, let's negotiate. Let's discuss each idea, right? And that's when you toss out the ideas, you or your children, not just you, toss out the ideas that are just not feasible, not doable, not reasonable, that somebody in the family is not willing to live with, right? So you toss out all of these, and then you're left with a few, 2 or 3, and you negotiate. Okay, shall we try this? And then people might bring up some, you realize that might be an issue because X, Y, and Z, right? So you really kind of like you discuss with them. And then at the end you said, okay, how about we decide on this idea and let's shake hands, everybody. We shake hands, we have an agreement, and we try it out for 1 week. Just 1 week. And then in 1 week from now, same day, same time, Sunday, 11 o'clock, we will meet and we will review how did it go. Did it work? Did it not work? Was it easy? Was it hard? Should we tweak something, change something slightly, right? And we change it if we need to. So I can give you a quick example.
Yeah. Examples are good because now we're talking about meetings. So, we all have experience with meetings, but how does it work in a family? Yes.
So this is me coming home from PEP with this. I've just learned this at PEP, and I have a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old, and we have just bought a new sofa. Finally, we have replaced the student sofa that my husband had. That went into the family room, and in our nice living room, we now have our nice new sofa, right? And the 6-year-old finds nothing else more exciting than to jump on that sofa because it's really just like beautiful and it's really nice. And so we do everything. We explain, we tell her it's dangerous, we threaten, we punish, we yell, we cajole, we beg, we plead, et cetera, et cetera. Nothing works, nothing. So I go to PEP and I learn about this method and I come home and I say to my husband, Steve, let's have a family meeting. He says, are you crazy? I have meetings all day long. I don't want another family meeting. I say, please just humor me. I have to do this as homework. So we have a family meeting with our 6-year-old and a 4-year-old. The 4-year-old is running around. She doesn't care. But the 6-year-old is willing to sit down. I say, okay, the problem is jumping on the brand new sofa is unsafe. Unsafe jumping on the brand new sofa. That's the problem. That's how we framed it. Does anybody have ideas? So all the ideas was we could return the sofa and not have a sofa. We could just be allowed to jump on all the sofas of the house every time, everywhere, everybody. We could buy a trampoline to jump outside in the yard instead of on the sofa. We could be allowed to jump on the sofa with a time limit on it. We could set a gate around the sofa, that gate that we have in the basement that we use for puppies. We can use that and put it around the sofa. And then that's the 6-year-old saying, having this idea, I would remember not to jump on the sofa because there would be the gate around it. And my husband says, absolutely not. Have you seen that gate? It is horrible. It is rusted. It's going to create an accident. We're not put. So I kick my husband under the table. I kick him so he will be. And we say, okay, we're going to try so we negotiated and we said, okay, we will try to live with the gate for 1 week. And so we lived with the gate around the sofa for 1 week. After 1 week, we came back to the family meeting to evaluate. And my husband's like, it worked. We can remove the gate. And my daughter says, oh, no. I'm not ready yet. I need it around the sofa for another week. So it was around the sofa for 3 weeks before we removed it. So this is just one example.
And it's typical. It's typical that people say 3 weeks is how we modify our behavior, but it's
21 days.
21 days. And you gave her a way to figure out the problem. She found a way to help herself to gain the control or self-control, not to jump on the sofa, right? But it was her idea. So so she can stay with it. Yeah.
And most importantly, she was part of the solution, right? And so I'm not sure that really it was the gate. I think it was almost more the fact that she was part of that it was her idea and she had come up with it and we respected her idea, right? So Pascal, let me just show you. Yeah.
Yeah, but you mentioned something that means as a parent, we cannot always dictate what the solution is. We can have an end goal that we work towards, but we don't always dictate how we get there. And we need to have that open mind. I actually learned that lesson. My son and I, during his high school, have to negotiate his curfew time. And I had in my mind, 10 o'clock is the time for curfew. And when we had a meeting, He said, are you kidding me, Mommy? 10 o'clock? Things haven't even started at 10 o'clock. You cannot give me 10 o'clock as a curfew time. And so I have to learn to compromise. And he compromised. He thinks it's 1 o'clock in the morning is curfew time. And so we try 11 as a curfew time. And after you mentioned that after a while, you have to reevaluate. But after 2 weeks, we have to reevaluate because there are some holidays and there are some big events that we have to go over 11 o'clock. And then we renegotiated for different circumstances that this can be later. So for me, that was a learning experience. I cannot say this is how I want it and that's how it's going to be. It has to be a mutually agreed decision.
Yeah, we usually lose about half the people in a class when we tell them at some point, you can't make anybody do anything, not even your children. That's usually when people say, well, I don't want to be here. I don't want to hear this. Anyway, let me show you the last video here. So this is parenting style number 3. Just need to move this. And I'm going to make it the big screen. There we go.
Here's Sue again, still pretending to be your kid. And here's Dana, still playing a mom, trying to get out the door.
Hi.
Hey.
It's time to leave for school. What is it you need to do to be ready?
Well, I just need to get my shoes on. My backpack's right here. I really just want to finish this one thing. I'm almost done.
It's important to you to finish.
Yeah.
When your shoes are on and you and your backpack are in the car, you can finish your game then.
Okay.
Okay, I'll see you in the car. Do you want to lock up or shall I?
I will.
Okay.
So I'm just going to close this up to make sure it doesn't start again. All right. So you saw this third parenting style, right? And that's what we teach at PEP. And that's what you saw tonight in our presentation. It's called the democratic. So the first parenting style, I was looking at the chat while we were looking at the video that there was, it looked at first glance that there was mostly people identifying with the first parenting style, which is the permissive parenting style. And then the second video that we saw with the mom screaming and red in the face, that's authoritarian parenting style, otherwise called dictatorship in my family. And then the third one that we just saw is called democratic parenting style or authoritative. So it's kind of like that parenting style in the middle, which is that we give our children choices and options, but within firm and friendly limits, right? We give them choices so that they get to experience life and they get to practice, because that's a muscle, making decisions and making choices for themselves. They get to practice that in the safety of our house, within the limits of the safe and safety limits of our parenting, right? And they get to experience the consequences of the choices that they make within those limits. All right. So what I want you to take just a minute to do right now, because we learn best when we actually use what we've just learned, is just to take a moment and think for yourselves, what is one tool that you learned tonight that you might, or that you remembered tonight, maybe, that you're going to take away from this talk and that you want to try to implement, either tonight when you say goodnight to your kids or tomorrow when you get up with them. And if you are so inclined, feel free to share that in the chat. What is one takeaway for you tonight? And then I want to just show you, and I'll, Kathy, if you want to join me here, but I want to talk to you about those different steps that we have in different programs. So first thing that I want to say is that we offer online webinars. And so they are monthly or bi-monthly webinars for a very limited fee of $25 that they are live webinars. And then we have a whole library at pepparent.org, a whole library of webinars on any topic, parenting topic you can possibly think of, that you can go and view on demand whenever you want. However, like we said tonight, you can't really improvise parenting in half an hour, right? And so for the deeper parenting techniques, you can come to our parenting classes, which are monthly classes. They each are 4 weeks long. They start at the beginning of every month of the year. And we have 3 different classes. The first one is called Encouragement. It has a longer title, but the first one is about encouragement. The second one is about discipline and setting limits. And the third one is about behavior, understanding your child's behavior, what's behind it, and how to address it better. Right? So these monthly classes start at the beginning of every month. And then we have the Family Resiliency Program. And Kathy, I'll let you talk about that.
Sure. So the PEP Family Resiliency Program is an 8-week online, although it's also in person. We're doing both online and in person. And it's a support group style program focusing on how parents can help support their children's mental wellness. So we've been doing this in Montgomery County since the fall, and we ran a fall program. We're doing a winter program, and we will do a spring program starting the week of April 10th. It is a free program, but the space is limited. So if you're interested in learning more about the Family Resiliency Program, you can scan the QR code. And we will also, by the way, send this PowerPoint out to everybody, this PowerPoint presentation, so you can scan the QR code when you receive it and sign up to learn more. We will keep you informed when we finalize the date and the format. So it's just an interest form you will be signing up. But as Pascal said, we have a lot of other programs. Some of our webinars are free, some are for a fee. So you can check out all of our programs at pepparent.org.
And we have a coupon tonight, 25% off if you use the coupon PEP25 because you came tonight and you spent this time with us.
Yes.
And
Actually,
we're also very grateful you have another offering for our community, don't you?
You talking about the Family Resiliency Program, Julie?
Yes.
Yes. So the Family Resiliency Program that I just spoke about, that will be a program when you sign up, will be just for the Asian American community. All the parents on that program will be just Asian Americans, and actually Eileen Chang will be one of the facilitators of that group.
Yeah, and I'm working on finding a location. I would like this 8-week free program to be in person, so to provide some in-depth help for our community members who need help and can improve their family's well-being, communication, and well-being. So stay tuned. We'll have more of that information come out later.
Right. So
okay.
I think we'll go into Q&A now. Is that right, Pascal?
That's correct. So I just wrote in the chat, feel free to write your questions. But since I think I haven't seen any yet, I thought that I could start maybe with a few from what people had sent in, if that's okay with you guys.
Yes.
So there's a few that I'm going to read them, but I think that they have the same answer. So even though they're not exactly the same questions, I'm going to lump them together, right? So one of them was, how can I persuade my teen son to learn extensively beyond class? Another one was, what if my children are dragging their feet? And I'm thinking that means to do what they need to do, right? How to align and communicate the parents' expectations with the teenagers. Those are the questions, right? And so I think that those questions all have kind of embedded in them. How do I make my child do what I want them to do and what they need to do, what I feel is important for them to do, to listen to me, to do what they have to do, to study in class, to understand that my wish for them to go to a good college is important and I want them to have the same wish, right? And so the answer is kind of embedded in the presentation that we gave tonight, which is before they can hear you, you have to hear them. You have to listen to them. Remember that mutual respect, right? So we want to listen to our children, and we want to empower them. We want them to have some ideas and to be able to share their ideas. We want them to be able to sell us on their ideas and their projects, right? And it always starts with what we call reflective listening. So the first step of reflective listening is just hearing, listening, I call it having big elephant ears. Just take it in, just let them speak, right? And when you feel, and you can say, I hear you, that sounds really important to you, right? Do you remember the mom, Sue and Dana, and the mom, when Sue said, but I'm almost done with that face, I really want to finish it, right? And Dana just put her hand on Sue's hand and said, that's really important for you to finish this right now, while she's taking the Rubik cubes away, right? So we want to really have these ears and listen to what our children want. And then we want to ask them, how do you think we can solve this problem? This is really important. You know, college and going to a good college and having a good education is really important to us. We, your parents, think this is really important. How about you? What do you think? And they say, well, I don't care. I don't care about school. I don't want to go to school. I don't care about college. And then what you want to do is, okay, well, I hear you. It sounds like it's not as important to you as it is to us. So then you want to switch the conversation to, what is your long-term goals? What do you want to do later in life? What kind of job do you want to have? How much money do you want to earn? What place do you want to have in society? How do you want to contribute to society, right? So having kind of a bigger discussion so that you can then help your child make the necessary connections, and you don't make the connections for them, right? So this is a very broad answer, but I'm really hoping that it helps with that question that we all have about how do we make them study, work, want to go to a good college when they really don't seem to be interested. And so opposing them directly is just not going to get us there. Listening to them, asking curious questions, respecting their point of view, but then connecting dots in an indirect way about, what do you want to do later? So I'll give you a quick example. I remember my daughter once coming home from, she had gone after school to one of her friends when she was in early high school. And she came home and she says, Mom, they have this house and it's gigantic. And in the basement, they have a movie theater and they have a pool inside the house. Why don't we have a house like that? I'm like, let me explain. I have this job. No, I didn't say that. I said, let's go online and look at the price of this house. Let's look at how much it costs. And then I explained about mortgage, and I explained about interest rates. And we talked about how much mortgage these people were probably paying every month. And then we thought about, how much does that mean they need to earn on a monthly basis to be able to pay this mortgage? And my daughter's mouth was just falling down. What kind of jobs pay these kinds of salaries? Oh, a surgeon, a lawyer. What kind of school and studying do you need to do to become a surgeon and lawyer so you can afford this particular house, right? So that's how you're going to be able to get your kids more motivated. So I think that there's a lot of questions coming in.
Yeah, there are. So, Pascal, since there are questions mentioned about college, I just want to make an announcement for the coming attractions. So, one of the things to motivate our children or have our children come to discover themselves is have them listen to their peers. Okay. So on March 18th, Sunday, there will be a workshop planned for 4 graduating seniors this year come to share how they plan their high school life. And in order to help them get to where they need to go. So that's coming attraction, Sunday, March 18th, 7:00, 4 graduating seniors, they're all my students, will come to share how they did their high school planning, and they best lessons learned and tips for their peers. Okay, so one of the questions, Pascal, as I'm looking in the chat room, one of it is for a lot of teenager parents that their kids are not communicating. They're not talking much. So how can we have more communication? How to get our kids to talk, to share, to discuss things?
Right. So first, I want to tell all the parents of teenagers in the room, and I'm sure Eileen, you can confirm this, is that teenagers, it is, you know how you read the books that told you what the developmental tasks of each age group is? You remember the 2-year-olds, they're supposed to start walking and talking, etc. Well, the teenagers' developmental tasks are to individuate and separate. So their job is to basically cut the umbilical cord again so they can leave the house. That's what they're doing. So everything you see, if you can try not to take it personally, because it feels personal, but really it isn't. They're just trying to cut the umbilical cord so they can leave the house. That's everything. And they're trying to learn to become the person they will be when they're no longer in the nest of the family. So that's what explains all of that. So it is completely normal, and it is written in the books that the teenagers stop communicating. So if you want to read about teenagers, yeah.
I'm sorry, I just want to interrupt though. We do know that lots of teenagers are going through periods of stress, high stress and anxiety and depression. So some of it can be the case that they're going through normal teenage individuation and separation from their parents. But can you speak a little bit about what some of the signs are when sometimes it might be more than that? And the teenager may in fact be more stressed out or more depressed than what even is normal for a teenager's age?
Yeah, so I think that you want to look at, you want to listen to your instinct. You want to look at if you notice things that are really, really worrisome. So if somebody asked you that question for a 5-year-old or 6-year-old, so when my husband died, I went to the doctor and the doctor said, I said, they don't want to go to the therapist for grief counseling. And the doctor said, are they wetting their beds at night? Are their grades in school slipping? Are they no longer having friends? Are they no longer talking to anybody? Are they losing weight? Are they gaining weight? Are they cutting? Are they using drugs? And the answer to all these questions were no. And so they said, well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So this is my roundabout answer to say, if you're noticing any of these things with your teenagers, to a point that is getting in the way of life. So you see low motivation, no longer interacting with other people, school refusal, of course, physical harm, like cutting, like drugs, like, things that really are getting in the way of regular functioning, but mostly just closing up from other humans, I think is your biggest telltale sign. Listen to your gut. And if it really is, if you have some concerns, call your doctor, your family doctor, explain what the situation, and an expert can tell you, what's going on. You can also always go talk to your school counselor. They're often very good referral. But I just want to say there is definitely a mental health crisis in this country. And, COVID, it started with COVID. It's definitely before COVID, there was social media. So there's definitely some mental health issues for young people. But before all of that was happening, and we were teaching the teenagers class, the parenting teens class, we were really telling parents that teenagers go to pretty extreme measures. I put the book, by the way, in the comments that I can only recommend that you guys get for yourselves. And then there is a sister version of the book or brother version of the book that says, yes, your parent is crazy, by the same author. So you buy Yes, Your Teen is Crazy, and you read that in your bedroom, and then you leave the Yes, Your Parent is Crazy book on the coffee table, and you're pretty sure your teen is going to pick it up and read it. And that's going to give your teen some explanation about what's going on with their parents as well. So teens will go to pretty extreme measures to get this sense of individuation and separation from their parents. So I was going to say, to respond to one of the questions, how to motivate children to go above and beyond, right? And how to have that communication with your children.
Right.
Do you remember what, sorry?
Yeah, that is one question I heard many parents are interested in getting an answer.
So the thing that's really important is, we actually talked about it in the presentation tonight, is, do you remember how they are extreme observers of us, and they really model their behavior more after what they see us do than what we actually say? So our behavior and our modeling as parents is much more important than the words that we say. And so we always try to tell parents to relax and calm down, because if they are in the parenting classes, that means they care about their parenting, and they're probably already modeling all those values of being interested, being curious, being a hard worker, being a learner, having pride and dignity in the work that you do, right? So if you're modeling this, you're already, without even saying anything, imparting those values to your children. And that's what matters, the most. The thing about how to motivate them to go beyond is a little bit what I was saying a moment ago. You have no tools, really, because you can't make them, and unless you decide you want to beat them and attach them to a chair or whatever, and it's okay in your family. But if that's not the method you want to use, then your tool is your communication with your children and your relationship with your children. And so Eileen said this when she was presenting her tools. I don't know if you know this, she says, connection before correction. This is our buzzword at PEP, right? We are called the Parent Encouragement Program. It's our middle name, encouragement, because we believe that if you build your house, your family home, on a foundation of encouragement, and that's what you focus on most of the time in your parenting, you are now raising encouraged children who are motivated intrinsically because they are encouraged. They feel good about themselves. They are listened to. They are full participants in the family. They are empowered. They are respected, right? And so all of that creates encouragement, which creates cooperation and motivation.
Pascal, I appreciate that point. A lot of times teenagers answer, who cares, right? And I know that when I talk to a lot of our children, they feel their unspoken expectations at their house, right? Unspoken expectations, and sometimes very high expectations. And at times they feel they cannot, or it's very difficult to live up to those expectations. Or at times they feel that they have failed their parents. They understand the love and care from their parents. They feel the guilt of not being or letting their parents down sometime. Okay, so I think in our communication with the children, culturally, when you mention no blame, no name, our framing need to be very important. The growth mindset that we have of our children, the growth mindset we have of ourselves. I don't know everything. I might have made mistake, or mommy hasn't said that the best way I could have said it. I'm learning too. So have this growth mindset for both yourself and your children will be very helpful to take away this unspoken assumption of some expectation or failure, or so everyone can say, we're doing this together. We're doing this together, right? So I think that helps to motivate our children.
Absolutely. I love that you mentioned we are big fans of Carol Dweck and the growth and, her growth mindset, her mindset position. So I don't know, maybe I'm not going to make some friends here, but I just want to ride on what you just said, Julie, which is that, let me give you an example with my child. So I was an old mom, and my brother, who's younger than I, had children before me, and he had those two incredibly beautiful little blonde boys that were born at birth. and who were just like these really super well-behaved kids that had no problems whatsoever. And then I had children later, and my firstborn was not like that at all. She didn't have blonde hair. She was not well-behaved. She was very, very unhappy for the first 2 years of her life. And she was my daughter, and I'm a happy person. And here I had an unhappy child. But so for years, until I met Pep, I was trying to change my daughter to be who I expected her and I wanted her to be. But in the process, I was basically breaking her personality down. I was trying to make her be someone that she wasn't. And what I learned at Pep is I had to respect who she was and love her for who she was and try to water, like you water a flower, water the flower that was there, not another one that I wanted. I had to accept the flower with the beautiful and the not so beautiful, but I had to accept what I had and not try to make them into somebody else, right? And so that was very, very hard. That was one of the hardest things I've done, right? And by the way, it's probably the same for a lot of us in our couples, right? we marry somebody and we think they're going to be a certain way, and then they turn out not to be exactly as we expected, and we say, wait a minute, you got to change, right? It's the same, but the thing is with kids, they're little and they're like clay, and we think we can make them into something else than they are. And the best thing really we can do for our children is coach them, accept them for who they are, water what's in their own potential, right? Instead of trying to go against who they are and what they want. Now, of course, they got to brush their teeth, they got to eat their broccoli, and they have to go to school because it's the law, and hopefully get a good education, right? But if we don't try to look at it as a war with them, but instead a common project that we do with them, and again, base everything on this foundation of encouragement, it can really change the atmosphere drastically. So I want to address that thing really quickly, and then I'll be quiet in a second. About they say, who cares? Or somebody had asked a question about their daughter who said, she's rude or something. My daughter always says, I'm an adult, please leave me alone, and she ignores any suggestions, right? So when a kid is rude like that or says, who cares? You say, well, I care. I'm your parent and I love you and I care. And I'm kind of sorry you don't care because it's your life and your future. And I'm kind of sad that you don't care about your own future. And then you leave the room. You've just planted a little seed for them to ponder, and you leave the room and you let them in front of their own decisions making, right?
Yeah. Giving kids space. We sometimes want instant change in our children. If I explain something to you and it's so logical, it's full of my life experience, it's well tested, we just want our children to take our ideas and becomes their own. But children need to have a process. Sometimes they need the life experience to truly understand the wisdom we try to impart to them. And when you say leave the room, yes, they need time and space to process the things we say. Yeah.
So I'm looking at the clock, and I think you guys wanted to kind of wrap it up, and I'm not seeing a whole lot of questions in the chat, and I think we answered quite a few of the ones that came in. So maybe handing it back to you, Julie and Kathy, for a wrap up.
I'm going to hand it first to Kathy to see if she has any final words for us, and then I have a few announcements.
I would just say one thing as I was listening to the last conversation. It just resonates so much with me because this was my struggle with my teenage son. Sometimes we say to ourselves as parents, what we are thinking is so logical. What we are wanting for our child is so logical. Why aren't they doing it? And it's often because what your child needs more than logic in their own minds is they need control. They want a sense of control, a sense of feeling like they are in charge of their lives or have some say in their life. And I found my own son would fight me on things that just seemed so logical to me because it was more important for him to have control than it was for there something to be logical. And our relationship did not change until I gave him more control. And I will tell you, as he got more control, he became more logical. He embraced solutions that were more logical. So I do encourage you all to, just like we say with problem solving, find something to try it for a week and see how it works. If you heard something tonight and you're saying to yourself, oh, I don't think this will work, or I don't know that I agree, our hope for you is that you might be willing to try it for a week and see what happens. I found that when I started trying things with PEP, they in fact did work. And so I was willing as a parent to try more and more. I wasn't willing to try everything at first, but over time I embraced more and more of it because in fact it started working for me and my son. So that would be my final word for you all, and hope in addition to trying some of our other programs that we shared with you. And we can make all the PowerPoints available to you. We will send that out.
Yeah. And I'm going to buy that book. Yes, your teen is crazy. So I'm going to buy that book. Okay. And so a few announcements. So if you have registered with us, we will share the PowerPoint and the video when it becomes available. We will send it to the email that you register with us. When we have the 8-week program set up in the community, I will also share that. And I'm working with some Chinese schools so that this program can be in person, so we can have more intimate and in-depth discussions. And I encourage all of you to check out CAPA MC's website to explore their range of student clubs to get our children's world bigger than just our house. And I am very passionate about that. Check out CCACC's website to get to know all the free programs they offer, and the summer camps, and the after-school care, and the sports facilities, and also PEP's website, which have videos that might be helpful and help you with your daily communication with your children. My goal as an educator and as an elective public servant is to want to provide more opportunities for our communities. So March 18, I will have a talk on how to best plan your high school academic and extracurriculum career, high school career. And in April, I have invited some professionals in not so well-known fields to come and have a panel discussion about how they get to work in their field, what qualification needs, and what kind of education needs, what kind of soft skills that are needed to get to those fields. Include fields like a genetics counselor, speech pathologist, occupation therapist, a physical therapist, some of the fields that not a lot of us are aware of. So stay tuned. That's in April. So once again, thank you, PEP, for your wonderful presentation. Thank you for CAPA MC and CCAC to be our co-sponsor. And I will show everyone's information again, and feel free to contact us if you need anything. So thank you for joining us. Good night, everyone.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, thank you, everyone.
It was an honor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.